Since our eyes are closed right now, since we're not getting any visual information, let's take a look and just imagine for me for a bit. Okay? And we'll talk and discuss and we'll just think. Okay? And when something so pertinent and so awe inspiring or informational pops up, maybe through the power of our will, that might manifest itself through the screen. Maybe it'll come from my side, maybe it'll come from your side. Who knows? But in this little experiment, let us just imagine for right now the following situation. Well, let's decide. Shall we go serious and literal, sociopolitical, whatever it may be, philosophical? Or shall we go fun and fantastical and story driven, like spacefaring or a fantasy land, elves and trolls? Hmm. Let's flip a coin and say, hmm. Okay, let's start the conversation on socio-political, or political, economical, or however you want to slice it, or dice it, or categorize it. Anywho, what I'm going to be talking about now is a little thing I'd like to clarify, or how I think it should be clarified. And feel free to leave your input, information, and opinion down below. So, I think a big part of the misunderstanding that is going on now is a mistake for where rights come from and why there are rights. So, right now, I'd like to look at something that I call inheritance. Some of you might call it that too. And if you'd like to, you can look it up. I'm sure we'll all find the same definition. It's where someone kicks the bucket and they give all their stuff to someone or something or some entity. And if they don't decide where it goes in a will or in some form, or, then the government takes it because why not? They're greedy. They want it, and well, it's the person's fault for dying and not specifying that they didn't want their progeny to get their stuff. So then we look at, well, okay, inheritance. That would be an extension of property rights, wouldn't it? You own your stuff, and when you die, since you're dead and you can't really defend your ownership of anything, because, well, if someone wants your stuff, all they gotta do is kill you to take it, then, well, we'd say it would be an extension of property rights to get to decide where your stuff goes when you die. Considering, if we can, for the moment, take a look at, well, what is property? And I'd say property would be a form of an extension of the body, in that, say you work, you put in labor at a company, and you get $10, and you buy a chocolate bar for $10, a very delicious chocolate bar, and that's why it costs $10. Well, you now own that chocolate bar. You used to own $10, which was worth, well, say you work at $10 an hour and you worked for an hour. Well, then your time is worth, well, $10 an hour for 1 hour. And when you're not working, well, your time is worth nothing or everything, depending on how you're using it. But going back to that situation, that candy bar is now worth an hour of your life. And by extension, you own that candy bar as an extension of your life, or, well, what we can consider part of your body, in that you used your body to produce labor, to get paid, to buy that candy bar, and to either eat it or sell it or spend it however you wish. Point being that since that candy bar is a product of labor and that you labored to be able to have it, then it's, by extension, your property, and thus you own it, which means you have a right to it. Correct? If not, feel free to clarify, but I'm pretty sure that's how things work. And if no one owns a thing, then the first one to find it claims ownership. You know, finders, keepers, losers, sweepers, blah, 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 blah. I'm pretty sure that's how it's been forever. And if someone does own something, and someone kills them, and they, well, aren't found out, then it's pretty much finders, keepers anyway, because, well, it's only illegal if you get caught. At least that's basically how it is if the justice system, you know, isn't on the ball. And if society continues to degrade, that's exactly how it will be. People will do what they need to survive, and eventually the cost of living will increase to the point where they'll have to steal and kill in order to survive. It's just the way of nature. It's how it will be. It's how it always has been. And then we look and we ask ourselves, well, how do we prevent this? And I'd say, well, if we continue to look at property as a fundamental right, in fact, I'd call it the only right. Or we'll say property right is where all other rights come from, because the first and foremost right is that you own your body. And as an extension of that, you get to decide where your labor is distributed and how you live your life. That, I would say, would be a pretty big part of living a free life. So, well, let us ask ourselves this. When it comes down to it, if you do make that decision, which one are you likely to make?